The 3-bucket approach to investing. And we're gonna be, this is very important, so we're going to bust out the PVC pipe of knowledge. PVC pipe of knowledge. So this is important. I was working with these people earlier today, just crushing. Actually, I had 2 people. Oh, yeah, by my way, my shirt is Jesus is Lord. If that's offensive to you, this might not be the channel for you, because I'm not afraid to say how much I love the Lord. If loving the Lord is wrong, you guys put in the show notes. What's the comment? If loving the Lord is wrong, finish that sentence up and crush that like button. Crush it. All right, so I was working with these people today, and they're about 40, 48, I think, something like that. Good people, they're crushing. And they've done a pretty good job of scoring away some money. Now, they're far, far from retirement. I don't get a whole lot of clients under the age of 50. Generally, that's not my ballywhack. Whatever. That's not my, because it's not that much to do if you're 10, 15 years out for retirement. So these guys, for instance, they got an 11-year-old child. I said, you got to update your will because they hadn't updated for a while. And the guardian that they had in their will now has cognitive issues. So we don't want someone with cognitive issues being the guardian, because they took their will out when the child was like 4. And back then, the guardian did not have cognitive issues. And the guy I was talking to earlier today, my first appointment today, he had a living trust set up to help his daughter out. And same kind of thing. It's like, we got to make sure that the successor trustee, that's the person who manages the trust when you either are incapacitated or dead, excuse me, I just burped. I just had some ice cream. And that's pretty good. Mayfield mint chocolate chip ice cream, dude. I can eat that stuff all day long. Anyway, so it was good too. So I got hit the gym here in a little bit. Anyway, so we just had. So I was saying, you got to update. You got to make sure your successor trustee is up to snuff for what you're trying to do, because that is an important thing. So the people I was dealing with at 2 o'clock today, they're young and they need to get that done because they have guardians. But even you can't just set it and forget it on a will and stuff like that. So. The younger people need to get life insurance, term life insurance, 100% unequivocally. You know, they got a little bit of debt, not much, but you need $250,000 term life if you're under the age of 50, cheap as could be. The guy I was dealing with earlier at my 10 o'clock appointment, he needs what did I say? He got to get, we talked about the estate planning stuff he had to get done. There's something else to say. And he had a rental, so he got to get an umbrella for his rental for sure. And just to make sure that the insurance company, look, I'm not a property and casualty expert, but generally speaking, any asset you have, if you were to be sued, they could get it from you. That's like a rental property, a brokerage account, something like that. So anything that's out there, you got to make sure you talk to your insurance guy to make sure you're covered in case you get sued. Anyway, so these people today at 45, 46, I can't remember exactly, you know, they got a number of years left to go, but they've done a good job at putting the money where it should be. So they got a Roth, they got a pre-tax account that's tax deferred, that's tax free, and then they got a brokerage account. And so the issue here is we want to make sure we're investing as wisely as possible into all of these accounts. So the first thing we should do, remember, a brokerage account, the principal is tax free. All right, so part of this is tax free. That's the principal, because you already pay tax on the principal. All right, so whatever you put in there as your basis, you don't have to pay tax on again. All right, so the only thing that's taxed in a brokerage account is any kind of income you get derived from it. Income would be long or short-term capital gain. All right, so we got capital gain, long or short. Long-term capital gain is taxed favorably. 15 would be 0, 15, or 20%. Short-term capital gain is taxed as ordinary income. So long-term capital gain is always more preferential than ordinary income, and short-term capital gain is ordinary income. Ordinary income is the same tax you pay on your earned income. So you pay a 10, 12, 22, 24, 28, whatever the other ones are. So long-term capital gain is always more tax efficient than short-term capital gain. Then you could get dividend income, qualified dividend income, and most American stocks are qualified dividend income, and that sits there at 0, 15, and 20% as well as your tax rates. And 0 is if you stay in the 12% tax bracket, you don't pay any taxes at all on your long-term capital gain or qualified dividend income. And then you got interest income. All right, interest income is taxed as ordinary income. And you don't want municipal bonds here because we don't want municipal bonds. I'm just telling you, municipal bonds are tax-free. No, we don't want municipal bonds. I'm not going to get too deep here today, but I'm going to show you why. Anyway, so we have 4 ways to pay income tax on our brokerage account. But notice there's no tax on that principal, and the principal certainly is going to be bigger, most likely, unless you've had this account for a long, long time, than all these things right here. All right, so the principal is tax-free. So basically, this is all we got to deal with. Now, don't forget, on the brokerage account as well, and this is another thing I was talking to the first guy today, he's building up his brokerage account because he's going to leave that tax-free to his trust, his living trust, to manage on behalf of his heirs. It was a wonderful strategy. So we want to make sure this brokerage account can grow, because the growth on the brokerage account is tax-free with a step-up in basis. All right, so we step-up basis. So if you had $100 in here and it grew to $500,000, it's all tax-free. All tax-free, all right? Now, you got to pay tax on any income you get, but the growth on that at your death is tax-free because step-up basis. So with a brokerage account, we want, first of all, no bonds in a brokerage account. None. We want to get growth. There is no growth in bonds. A lot of people don't understand this. The bonds don't grow. Bonds just give you the interest income. That's it. All right, so there is no growth in bonds. Just keep that in the back of your mind. So if we're trying to achieve a step up in basis of growth-oriented investments, bond is not it. A bond inherently is just a return of principal, your initial investment into it in terms of if you bought it at when it first was issued. You put $100,000 in there, you're going to get $100,000 back, assuming it doesn't go bankrupt. That's it. There's no growth there. You get some interest income, but you got to pay tax on. We don't want bonds here. Bonds are not here, all right? We want this sucker to grow, so that way when we die, our heirs can inherit it tax-free, the growth. So we don't want bonds, and also because bonds pay us interest income, we don't want that. We don't want even dividend stocks if we can avoid it, all right? So for me, what I have in this account is my VTI. That's a Vanguard Total Stock Index. You should definitely not buy it. If I own it, you should stay away. Fidelity has a total stock index. Vanguard does. I'm sure Schwab does too. And what the total stock index does, there's no capital gains, at least at Vanguard, and very limited dividends. It's like, what, 1% or something like that? 1.5%. So even if I had $1 million in there, which I don't have anywhere near, I'm only getting $15,000 a year of dividend income. Just not that big of a deal. So this portfolio should be heavily invested in growth and growth-oriented stuff. We don't want SCHD. We don't want JEPI or all that. We want growth-oriented stuff, growth stuff. I mean, literally, what's the Vanguard's got like a tech fund, ETF, whatever it is. That's what you want here. All right, so we want to take advantage of low dividends. We don't want capital gains, minimal capital gains. So ETFs, absolutely. We don't want heavy transacted mutual funds. We don't want interest income. We want to take advantage of growth, and we want that sucker to grow. All right, this is where we hold our bonds. All right, why? If we're going to have bonds, because everything that comes out of here is taxed as ordinary income. Everything. Ordinary income is always greater than long-term capital gain and qualified dividends, always and everywhere. I don't care if you have dividends in here. If you have dividends in there, it comes out as long as the ordinary income. So a dividend that would normally be taxed at 15 is now taxed at your ordinary income bracket, which is always greater. Your ordinary income is always greater than the dividend tax rate. So anything that comes out of here, long-term capital gain, dividends, or even principal that comes out of here is taxed as ordinary income. So the ideal here is we don't want this. We want this to grow. We don't want this to grow so much. I mean, it would be nice to grow, don't get me wrong. But ideally, this is, if we're going to hold bonds, it would always be in here, right? We don't, remember, if this grows, there is no step-up basis to your heirs. So your heirs have to pay tax from this right here, this point, where your heirs don't have to pay tax over here. None whatsoever because of step-up basis. No step-up basis in IRAs. So if we get growth here, that's more taxes either you or your heirs are going to have to pay, and it's taxed at the least favorable one, which is ordinary income. So if we're going to have anything in here, bonds in our whole holdings, it should be right there, 100%. All right? So now we're going to go over here, and this is tax-free, your Roth. All right, this will be where your dividend stocks are. Well, because dividend stocks can grow, and while there's no step-up basis in a Roth, it's even better. It's all tax-free. I mean, there is no tax on ordinary income, long-term capital gains, short-term capital gains, interest income. This is all tax-free. So if we're going to have, we don't want dividends over here because the dividends are still taxed. We want the dividends here because the dividends are tax-free. Principal is tax-free, dividends tax-free, growth is tax-free. All right, so your Roth would be your JEPIs. Again, I don't like the JEPIs so much because there's not really growth in there. It's just all dividends. But if you're going to have dividends, you might as well have it in your Roth so it can come out tax-free, for sure. We don't want dividends over here. We don't want dividends here either because you just increase the tax rate on your dividend from a qualified dividend 0 to 15 to 22 to whatever your income tax bracket is, which is always higher. Dividends should be in your Roth. So ideally, this would be the ideal portfolio. A third, a third, a third, just for simplicity. VTI here, SCHD here, BND here. That'd be the bond portfolio, total stock portfolio, SCHD right there. That's the Schwab dividend thing. I can't remember exactly what that's comprised of. That, or your Vanguard dividend growth fund or something like that. That'd be the ideal portfolio. For the minimum amount of taxes you have to pay, you still got liquidity in your bonds, i.e. if I need to have access to some money and the markets are down, I can go to my bonds and take it out. I have very limited income right here to pay tax on. All this is tax-free. Goes to my kids tax-free, whatever the growth is. Goes to my kids tax-free, whatever the growth is. Goes to my kids taxed as ordinary income, but because of bonds, it should not grow very much. It should not, and I need access to my money. I'll take it right from there, the bonds. Hope that helps. Love your thoughts. Don't forget to crush and fondle and tickle that like button, and let me know what you think. All right, God bless. We'll see you. And remember, if loving the Lord is wrong, we don't know what we want to do. Jesus is Lord. I still got questions. It's okay. I don't think God gave us a brain not to have questions. All right, see you.